Hey, what's up, guys? Today we are going to review four chapter tests. It is section 6.1 to 6.4. So this is for Algebra 1 and it is about systems of equations. So let's go to question number 1. In question 1, you guys want to determine the number of solutions the system has. And remember that a system is when you guys have two equations and they have the same variables. So using the graph that you guys have on the top right there, we need to find out what type of lines we have according to the system. So I'm looking at this system and the first equation is 12x minus 3y equals 3. So I'm going to look for that one and I'm going to highlight it. But it is right here, 12x minus 3y equals 3. And that represents this red line. So that's the first line of the system. Then you guys need to find the second line. And the second line is y equals 4x minus 1. So I'm looking for that line and I look at the graph and the line is right here. You guys have the 4x. So you guys notice that the line that we're looking at is the same line as the one that we just found. So let me just put that in blue so you guys can see that it is the same line. So y equals 4x minus 1 is this one. So it is the same line as the red line. So when we have in a system and the two lines are the same line, we have many solutions. I'm going to write that down. Many solutions. Not just one, but we have many. Because the line will touch you can look at the blue line, will touch the red line all the points. At all the points, we have a solution along that both lines. For question number 2, same thing. We want to find out how many solutions we have. So we have the y equals negative 2x and the y equals negative 2x plus 5. So I'm just going to zoom out, looking at the graph that is given to us right there. So I'm going to look for those two lines and I need to know if how many solutions they have. So I'm going to find out the y equals negative 2x. The line that we're looking at is right here, y equals negative 2x. So that's the first line. Remember that a system has two different lines. So I'm just going to highlight the first line. So we have this line right there. And the second equation is y equals negative 2x plus 5. So I'm looking at that graph and we have the graph right here, y equals negative 2x plus 5. So I'm looking at this line right there. Now, if you guys pay attention, the two lines are parallel. They do not intersect. They never touch. They will never intersect. So that means that that system that we've just found has no solution. So I'm going to write it down. No solution. Keep in mind, guys, okay, just a review. If they do cross, so the two lines, they do cross at one point, that's only one solution. And I'll give you guys an example right now. But for number 2 is no solution. If you guys look at the two lines that are crossing, so if you guys look at this line right here and this line right there, well, they do cross at one point. So that system, those two equations will have one solution. But the question that we just found, or the system that you guys found right now is y equals negative 2x and the y equals negative 2x plus 5. That those two lines are parallel, so the answer is no solution. Number 3, you guys want to solve, and it's not so much as looking at a graph. You actually want to find out what is the solution for this graph. So when you guys are looking at the system, you guys can use multiple or a couple of methods. Number 1 is using the substitution method. Number 2 is, or you guys can use the elimination method. Now this one, it says use the substitution, but if you guys want to use elimination, that is fine with me. Just make sure you guys don't have to use the methods. I do have a fraction though. So this one here, I need to get rid of the fraction to make my life a lot easier. The bottom doesn't have a fraction, so we're okay. But let's go ahead and get rid of the fraction on the top. So this equation, I am going to multiply by the denominator. Denominator is the 2 right there. So let's multiply everything times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2. So when you guys go back to this fraction right here, the 2 will simplify to 1. So we don't need those 2's. 2 over 2 is just 1. So I'm going to have the 1x right here. Then I'm going to multiply the 2 times 2y times the 2. That's going to be a positive 4y. And on the other side, you guys have the 12 times 2, and that's going to be 24. Now, like I said, guys, the bottom equation will stay the same because it doesn't have a fraction. You guys don't have anything else, so it just stays the same. I noticed for this one that the x and the y are on the same side. So since I have the x and the y on the same side, these two equations are in standard form. So even though it says substitution method, we can actually use the elimination method because the x and the y are on the same side. And if you guys see, for the y's, actually the x's, they have the same number. They don't have different signs, but they do have the same number, so we can eliminate the x's. If you guys want to eliminate the y's, you guys can, if you guys want to use elimination method. But I'm going to choose the x. Remember that this x on the bottom, it has an invisible 1, right? So the only thing that we need is for the x's to have the opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by a negative, so I can make this x into a negative. So let me just put a big parenthesis right here, and there's a negative 1, so I can have different signs. The top will stay the same, so I'm going to have a 1x. I don't need that 1, I'm just going to put an x. And then I'm going to have the 4y equals 24. And on the bottom, I'm going to distribute the negative 1 times the positive 1x. That's a negative 1x, or just negative x. The negative 1 times the negative 2, that'll be a positive 2y. And the negative 1 times the positive 6, that'll be a negative 6. So when you guys combine the two equations, notice x eliminates. That is the elimination method. I'm not using substitution, I'm using the elimination method. 4y plus 2y, that's 6y. And the other side, 24 minus 6, that will be 18. Now you guys solve for y, so you guys divide by 6. So y equals 3. Okay, so we have the y, but now we need to find the x. So to find the x, you guys are going to substitute. Doesn't matter what equation you guys substitute, but you guys go back to one of the equations. Do not use the one with the fraction, guys. Okay, that's going to make it a little bit challenging. So you guys can use the one with no fraction, and you guys substitute the value of y into the y. So I'm going to do that on the side. I'm going to substitute right here. So I'm using the bottom equation. Notice this equation doesn't have a fraction once again. So I'm going to have x minus the 2y equals 6. And you guys substitute the 3 into the y right there. So we have x minus 2 times the positive 3 equals 6. You guys solve for x, so we need to multiply 2 times negative 2 times 3. So it'll be negative 6. You guys bring down the x, equals 6. You guys add 6 to both sides. So x equals 12. So we found the x value and we have the y value. So your answer, remember that it has to be in parentheses, and the x goes first, 12, and then the y. Remember the order, x is before the y. That's alphabetical order. So this point is the point of intersection. It is the solution. So we found the x and the y. Number 4, guys, like I said, it says to solve by substitution method, but we don't have to. You guys can use elimination, and I noticed that I can use the elimination method because we have the x and the y on the same side. Now, the only thing is that if you guys look at the x's, we don't have the same number. The y's don't have the same number, but you guys can multiply by a number and you guys can eliminate. Just make sure that whatever variable you guys want to eliminate, they have the same number and different signs, opposite signs. So I'm going to choose to cancel the y's, okay? You guys can choose the x. I'm just going to choose the y. So I noticed that they're not the same. They don't have different signs. They have the same sign. So I'm going to have to multiply by a negative. The top, I will multiply by a negative. And I can multiply this number 2 by 4. And that's going to make it 8. 4 times 2 will be 8. And that's going to be the same number as the bottom. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply all of this equation right here times -4. So you guys distribute the -4 into the equation. So let's do that right now. So I'm going to multiply -4 times x, and that's going to be -4x. And then you guys multiply the -4 times the -2y. That's going to be positive 8y. And on the other side, you guys have the -4 times the 3. That's going to be a -12. On the bottom, this one, the bottom equation says the same. Make sure you guys just write it down. 4x plus, nope, not plus, sorry, it's minus 8y equals 12. Notice what happens. The x's cancel. The y cancel. So we don't have anything on the left side of the equal sign. So that's 0. 0 means nothing. We don't have anything. On the right side, -12 plus 12 also becomes 0. -12 plus 12 is 0. They cancel. So when the variables cancel, we don't have an x or a y anymore. We have a special case. So we have to know if this statement is true or false. And in this case, 0 equals 0, true. So my answer, this is not the answer, guys, okay? This is just to know we have a true statement, but the answer will be many solutions. When the statement is true, we have many solutions. If the statement is false, that will be no solution, but this one is true. So we have a true statement, many solutions. Number 5, we have a system x equals 3y and 3x minus 5y equals 12. Well, guess what? I noticed the top. Look at the top equation. The x is by itself. When you guys have a variable by itself, you can use the substitution method. Not elimination, substitution. So I am going to use the substitution method for this equation or this system of equations. So there's 3 steps. For substitution, step number 1, you guys need one variable by itself. We already have it. We have this by itself. So I'm going to write it down. X equals 3y. Step number 2. So we're done with step number 1 because x is already by itself. Step 2, you guys are going to use the other equation. So in this case, it will be the bottom equation. I'm just going to write it down. So we have the 3x minus the 5y equals 12. And I'm going to substitute the value of x. Remember step number 1, all of this is x. So I'm going to substitute into the x right there. So I'm going to have the 3 times, we have parentheses. You substitute the 3y minus 5y equals 12. And then you guys solve for the y. Notice that we have the same variable. That's what we want. Now we can solve for y. So I'm going to multiply 3 times the 3y. That's 9y minus 5y equals 12. You guys combine like terms. These two are like terms. So we have the 9y minus 5y. That's 4y equals 12. And now you guys can solve for y. Divide by 4. So y equals 3. Okay, so we know what the y value. So the next step, step number 3, you guys are going to use one equation. It doesn't matter which one. You guys go back to the original equation. Choose one. I like the top because it's very short. Doesn't have a lot of numbers. So I'm going to use this one. Okay, you guys can use the bottom if you guys want. But I'm going to use the top. So the top equation is x equals 3y. So all I have to do, you substitute the y value right there. So x equals 3 times 3. And we know 3 times 3 is 9. And that's x. We have x equals 9. So my answer has to be in parentheses. Remember, it is an order pair. So the x value is first, the 9, and then the y value, 3. So x is first, and then the y value. For number 6, the instruction says use the elimination method to solve each equation. Like I said, guys, even though it says elimination or substitution, you guys can choose what method to use. But it depends how the system is set up. So I noticed this system, the x and the y are on the same side. So guess what? I can use the elimination method. Yeah, so that's what it says. So and the x and y are on the same side. So let's go ahead and use the elimination method. The x's, look at the x's, they have the same number. That's what I want to eliminate. In order to eliminate a variable, they must have the same number, but they must have different signs. So the x's, kind of, almost ready to eliminate. The only thing is we have to make one of them negative, because right now they're both positive. So you guys have to multiply by a -1, not a different number, just a -1, because the numbers are the same already. So I just need to change the sign. I'm going to multiply the bottom. Doesn't matter which one, but only one equation. You guys multiply by -1. So the top, keep it the same. I'm going to multiply the bottom by -1. So the top says the same. 5x plus 3y equals 22. The bottom will be -5x plus 2y equals -2. Notice that when you guys multiply by a -1, the sign changes. The sign will change. So this becomes -5x. This one becomes positive 2y, and this one becomes negative. So now I can eliminate the x's. So you guys eliminate. The y's do not eliminate. You guys are going to combine. 3y plus 2y, that's 5y. And the other side, you guys have 22 minus 2, that's 20. And now you guys solve for y. Divide by 5. So y equals 4. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So now you guys go back to one equation. You guys are going to substitute. I like the bottom equation without the negative, just the original equation. So I'm going to use that. I chose the bottom because I see this 22 on the top equation. I don't really like big numbers. I try to avoid big numbers. So I'm going to use the bottom. You can use the top though. It's okay. But I'll use the bottom. 5x minus 2y equals 2. And I will substitute the y value right there. So we have 5x minus 2 times 4 equals, and then you guys have the 2. Okay, so you guys substitute. Now you guys solve. So we have 5x minus 8. You guys multiply -2 times 4, that's -8, equals 2. And then you guys add 8 to both sides. Now you guys are solving. So 5x equals 10. 2 plus 8 is 10. Divide by 5. And that will make x. Let me just move this a little bit higher. X equals 2. So my answer, my solution, in parentheses, x goes first, and then the y right here, right? So you guys have the x and the y. Number 7, you guys want to solve again. It says elimination. I look at the system. Yep, I am going to use elimination method because the x and the y are on the same side. The variables do not have the same number, but I think the y's is a lot easier to eliminate than the x's. I just need to multiply this top y by 2, and that's going to have the same number as the bottom, and it has to be a -2 because we want different signs. Right now they have the same signs, so we want different signs. So I have to multiply by a negative. So I'm going to multiply the top equation, everything, by -2. Remember, I want to eliminate the y's. So when you guys distribute on the top equation, we're going to get -2 times 2x, -4x. So the next term, you guys are going to multiply the -2 times the -y. That's going to be a positive 2y equals, and the -2 times the -2, that'll be a positive 2. The bottom, you didn't do anything to it, okay? We're not going to do anything. We're not going to multiply. You keep it the same. That's going to be 3x minus 2y equals 1. And now you guys can cancel the y's. The x's don't cancel. The y's do because they have the same number and different signs. So for the x's, -4x plus 3x, that'll be -1x equals, and 2 plus 1 is 3. Now, I don't need that 1, guys, but I need to get rid of that negative. So to get rid of the negative, you divide by -1. That's going to turn it into positive x. And the other side, so this turns positive. And the other side, 3 divided by -1 is -3. So now we know what the x is. You guys go back and substitute into one equation. I like the bottom equation, okay? So I'm going to use the bottom. I'm going to substitute. This is the equation. And I'm going to take the x value and substitute into the x. So we have 3 times -3 minus 2y equals 1. You guys multiply right here. 3 times -3 is -9 minus 2y equals 1. You guys add 9 to both sides. So we get -2y equals 10. 1 plus 9 is 10. And now you guys divide by -2 on both sides. And you guys will get y equals -5. So we get, for our answer, has to be inside parentheses. The x goes first, -3. And the y goes second, -5. So my answer will be -3, -5. Remember the order. X is first and then the y. So guys, this concludes my first video for this test review. I will make a second one tomorrow. So make sure you guys check that one out. Make sure you guys review systems of equations. And I'll see you guys later.